Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of LatinLuxe Chronicles. We are your hosts, Bianca, Rita, and Jennifer. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. LatinLuxe would like to formally welcome Tony as our guest host for today's show. He will be sharing with us his insights on today's topic. FYI, new episodes drop every Wednesday.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram under LatinLuxe Chronicles. So make sure you give us a follow.
All right, Jennifer, so go ahead and tell us what we got lined up for today's episode.
So on today's episode 2, we have the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern dating. And since it's the end of February, we're wrapping up our theme of the month, which is about relationships and dating.
All right. So I think we can all agree that whether you are single and ready to mingle, living that married life, or just, plain old entanglements out there, dating and romantic relationships are not what they were 15 plus years ago. The landscape has completely changed, and it's probably not what many of us have experienced when we were younger. So let's go ahead and kick it off, and let's start talking about what are some of the good things about modern dating. So, Tony, you want to share with us some of your thoughts on that?
Oh, yes, I have plenty of thoughts. And
Here's all the good
I
stories in there.
All the thoughts.
thoughts, they're gonna come from this window. Uh, or the listeners out there, this is from a gay male's perspective. So if you're looking for any straight insight, it ain't happening. All right, so we're talking about good stuff about modern dating. I think a lot of my friends over here talk about what dating really means. For me, I've been single for way too long, and I'm not complaining. I'm grateful. That's all my
Enjoying every
current-
minute.
Yes. But I think dating from your own, from the comfort of your own home is one of the things that came up, just because you're able to get on the apps, right? Like dating, online dating. I mean, it went by from like MySpace messages to the Facebook messages,
Yeah.
Twitter, through X, through what is it called? So now it's like Bumble,
Tinder,
wait,
Grinder.
yeah.
La lista sigue.
But she knows all
I know, like, wait, what? People,
It's called research.
research.
There's a lot of really like this. There's just way too much dating out there, but it's really just comes down to like the actual meeting. And I think the good part about it is like you still get like those little butterflies and little antsy stuff like before meeting them in person, and then you meet them in person, and then okay, bye, next, swipe right, swipe left, whatever. Yeah. So it's I guess the good thing about it is like you get to see more, I guess, in the world, right,
yeah.
through
what's out
online.
there. Yeah.
All over the world, literally, on them, whether they're fake or not. I mean, they're there.
You don't know
But
if
I
it's
guess
an
that would
AI
be
picture or not.
no. I'll just run it through ChatGPT.
That was in my profile bio.
Yeah.
You communicate through them through ChatGPT.
Wait, it's gonna
Uh,
be like, did you all ever see that? What was that? Oh my God, with was it Nelly and Kelly Rowland? The video, and then they're texting, and she's on an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah.
it's the meme that says that you wonder why Kelly's upset because Nelly never messaged her back, and she on an Excel sheet.
Oh, my God.
More on the wrong app, honey.
It was a sidekick, right? It was just like that.
But I'm
My
so
God.
glad you talked about Tony, how you were saying that, the apps, you can do it from the comfort of your home. 'Cause when I think of good things about modern dating, it's that, for example, you get a lot of flexibility. If whether whether you're a single person out there, you get the flexibility of like you no longer have to actively go out and put yourself out there in situations. It's like you said, from the comfort of your home, you just turn on your phone, vámonos que app, or on your computer. Also, it's a little bit of empowering, don't you think? Like you get to be whoever you want and put on this persona online because it's kind of like there's not that much skin on the game because everybody's kind of on the same playing field.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a good thing and a bad thing because also too, like I think it kind of like builds up the anticipation of like you meet somebody and then it's like, it could build up and you think it's going to be like totally awesome and then you meet them in person and you're like, oof, yeah, like we're not vibing at all. So it's like it could be good because you're like meeting them, but then it's also like it could like you could have known that maybe from the beginning if you met them in person that you're just not going to like vibe very well. Like you just meet people and you're like, no.
One thing
So
that
I think
oh, go ahead, Tony. What did
go
you
ahead.
say? What were you gonna say?
No, I was like, I think moving a lot, like just online dating in general, like I think modern dating is like, meeting people and dating people like now, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean like dating somebody online, whether
Oh
because you
no.
can meet
Yeah.
somebody, you know, but like modern dating too, I think just like the access with the phone and technology, stuff like that, like people can actually research places to go out to.
yeah.
And I think like really good advantage. Before it was like, oh, like go to that bar down the
Go to
street,
the
we drive by
saloon.
it, along where Jennifer meets her date.
And she goes dancing.
Like you're saying that because I'm old and you're because I'm older than you guys. So you're
In the
assuming that I
library.
meet people at a library or a
It was
saloon
the
or a
farmer's
church.
market. The farmer's market.
Well, we did say the good, the bad, and the ugly. Pinche tombstone up in here. Tony, you're just what, 15 years younger than me, and we're both from the same town?
Oh, es el aguilón también.
Yes, he's
Aguilón.
from Eagle Pass.
Uh,
Thank you. Next. He's saying that because I was like, wait, what? What do you mean dating like on just on your cell phone? Like, come on. Like you you date in person. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're so old. Well, I think, Rita and Tony kind of touched up on this. I mean, I think it depends. Why are you dating? To me personally, there's people have reasons for dating. Some of it is like casual dating or like, experimental dating, if you will, because you're just trying to see what's out there. And that's totally cool. You want to meet people. Maybe you just got a divorce, or maybe that you ended a relationship or whatever it may be, and you're trying to find somebody. Or are you like dating to marry? Are you trying to find the one? My other one is, there might be some people out there that are just trying to fish, just, see what's out there before they leave their current setup,
Yeah, that's
It
crazy.
just all kind of depends. But
I think what Tony was saying,
everybody shifted a little bit when you said that.
I'm like, I'm
Like,
"Ugh."
on
I
the
mean,
prowl.
we're not listeners. We're not judging. We're not judging. Whatever your reason for being on Tinder, we're not
not
judging.
judging, but we have our opinions.
Mm.
No,
No judges, no judgings from not singing about Tony.
La
Absolutely.
señora.
Get the weed on.
live your
Hashtag
life.
live
Live your
life.
life. Vive tu vida. Okay, going back to what Tony said, not that I'm old and if I would date somebody at the saloon or library or the church, I would find people.
Hey, but if it
But
happens, it happens.
one thing that he said is that it's something new. Like, and I think if you were in a relationship for so long, and then now you're ready to date, that's a good thing. You're ready to date, and now you know what you want, because the reason why you're not in a relationship is because this and this and this happened, and so now you know what you want from someone. And that's what you're looking for. It's like you see red flags. It's like, nope, I've been there, done that, not good. And so you can easily, whatever it is, swipe left, swipe right, swipe up, swipe down, whatever it is, or leave them at the saloon, at the library, at the walk away.
This book was overdue. No thanks.
Yeah, this
Red
book was
flag.
Check, like George Strait, check no, and then just give that person the note. But I think throw that letter across the classroom and say nope.
Yeah.
Check no. But yeah, I think it is, the good thing is that it is something new. You get to know a person and you know what you want. So because you know what, not what you don't want, because you've been through it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a positive nowadays too. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but in modern society and in the world we live in today, there's a lot more openness. People are more likely to say like, no, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. Whereas before there was all this stigma, like, I know
Yeah.
I just have to be nice to this guy for a little while longer, and
Yeah.
or like, if I when not
More
with this
like-
girl, whatever. Nowadays you can just be
Yeah.
upfront and say, no me gusta, vamos.
Yeah, like it's more acceptable to like put your priorities or your needs first. Like I think it's more open and to like how maybe even we were raised in our parents. It was more like, no te aguantas, like estás en una relación y te gusta, no, like, like you committed or
Like,
we
what's
like,
that?
what? It was, that's what
Ya
it is.
pa ya pagaron el dowry. They already paid the dowry.
Yeah, you put it down,
Right?
it's like and I think now it's, like, more acceptable too, especially, like, if people are dating or trying to find their partner, like, "Hey, like, these are the things that I'm looking for and that I want, so you're not meeting them, so I'm just gonna move on," you know? Like, I feel like that's more acceptable now too,
So
so
here's a question for you, Rita, because I think that also, even though I mean, dating can apply to married couples as well.
Mhm.
I think that, especially when you are in a healthy relationship with your spouse and you're trying to keep things,
alive.
alive and they're vibrant. What is it? What does dating mean to you? Or like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it changes, I think it changes as you go through the different phases in your relationship, like, of course, like, before kids, it's like, we would go out all the time. We'd like plan all these like elaborate dates and like go downtown or go have a fancy dinner, or take trips, and like when kids come in the picture, like it starts to look different, like you have one kid and you like try to plan nights at home or try to like arrange for a babysitter, try to go out, and then
Putting
realistically,
your
like,
little-
yeah, like, I mean, like, 10 years in, Tony, this is what's in, but like 10 years in, it's like, you get caught up and it's like you're married, you have kids, you're working, you're in sports. And so it's like, where do you fit that time? And I think that's like around that 10-year mark is where you really try to like find ways that you have to get creative. Like sometimes it might not mean you go out to dinner by yourself. Like sometimes it's like, hey, it's a family date night, or let's put the kids to bed early tonight and we're just gonna watch a movie in our room and get some ice cream and like that's your quality time, Sometimes sitting
Doing
outside.
things. I-
Oh,
Yeah.
wait.
We do like that, "Oh, you wanna bet on that?" And then, like, we got to pay back later. It's like,
So
yeah,
Putting it as
you
a
know what I
thing
mean?
that tap on the door.
so
With the
okay,
camera
hold on.
on.
Tony, but how okay, Tony, you kind of have like I mean, Rita was mentioning that she has kids. Tony, you have dogs, and so that those are your babies. Like, how do you do
Yeah.
that though?
How do I do
So
like
if you
dating with
want
the
to go
dog?
on a whole like date, like a day trip, like with someone, like what do you I mean, like that's the same thing, right?
Do you
You would
take
have to
your
get
dogs with you?
yeah, how do you do that? Like
Because that's a big deal with people liking dogs, because that's always like a check mark on the profiles that I look at. Like if they don't have pets, or if they do have pets, and if they do have pets, I have to see what type of pet they have.
Cat.
Because if they're cat, I mean, I'm fine with. I love all animals. I love all
birds.
but
Love these birds.
yeah,
Oh, man, you
birds,
had some bird stories. That's for another episode, but
whatever. Um, what's it called? But no, see, I really like if I do want to take a trip or something like that, it does take planning. I'm not a spontaneous type of person, so that's why the Rover app is great. You can just pay people to come and watch your dogs, and you meet
oh,
with
it's not for
them. And
kids, though?
no, it's not. That's that's what and tías
Have you ever
and
done
tíos.
that? Have you ever had to get a babysitter for your dog so you can go on a date or
Not not a date, but trips and stuff like that. Because like dates for me, like they're not
Yeah,
overnight.
you go out and you put the dog,
I have
yeah.
to. Dogs are really good. Like they get about hanging out at home. So,
Yeah.
as far as like if I want to take a dog, I have to take only one. It's really hard to manage both of them.
Mhm.
I've tried before. So I always pick the one that's gonna be barking if I'm not here. So it's a bit low
It's
and
pretty
real.
similar with kids. You have to go through the same, like, thought process of, like, what do you do with them? Which one do you take? Which one do you not take?
I hope
But,
nobody
yeah,
kids is listening to this because they're finding out who is the good one because they're gonna
I know,
realize,
right?
oh, my mom always takes me.
Yeah. The el que se queda sentadito hace caso. I'm just kidding. So, no. Yeah, it's okay. Like, I know, like, in the summer, we finally took our first, like, we had been on trips, but like little, like, not extended. And so, like, over the summer, we went to Vegas, like, my husband and I, and we left the kids with my mom and we went for like 3 nights, 4 days, and it was the first time that we left both of them, because my littlest one is only 3. And so, my oldest one though, he was like calling us, FaceTiming. He's like, "That's not fair. Y'all are going to see all these places, and like, I want to go play those games too." We were in the slot machines, and he like made us FaceTime him and tell him like he wanted to see the slot machines, and like he still talks about it. He's like, "Are you going to that place again where kids can't go?" I think it's all like about hurt that we didn't take him, but But it's good. Like, as far as like keeping your spark alive, like it's important to like have that time, and I think it's hard like when you get into relationships like over the years, you kind of like put yourselves last, especially when you have kids and you have work and your careers and everything, So that was a nice like time away to do, even though it's hard and it takes planning, with the kids and your pets or things like that. It's like it's nice to make time for those things. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you want to keep the spark alive, and you don't want to give anybody room to go get their what is it? Bumble, Tinder profile get started.
Oh no.
Because you ain't taking them out on a date. But no, I like that.
Jennifer and Bianca, you can share.
Oh, we haven't
What do y'all
shared?
do?
Well, I have. I mean, I talked about a lot of the good things that I like about
Me
modern
too.
dating.
What kind of hot
accessibility.
dates do y'all have? What are y'all's hot dates?
Yeah.
Oh, for Jennifer and I mean,
I
I don't know
have
if they're
no.
hot. And now it's like Netflix and chill, but like the real Netflix and chill before it turned all like, now it's like, "Tráete las palomitas."
Y'all don't draw like a truth or dare card, like, and see what's up
Yeah,
tonight.
it'll be like, oh my God, there's this like episode on a serial killer. Let's watch it.
The Tinder swindler.
Yes.
I mean,
No.
it's going to be an intense day cuando estás viendo al, ¿cómo se llama? Al que would cannibalize the guys.
Oh
Oh my
my
God.
god.
Oh,
Free
Dahmer?
Dahmer.
yeah, free
Oh yeah.
Dahmer.
Free
I
Dahmer and
couldn't watch
chill.
that one. I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Dahmer.
You're like, hey,
It's
babe,
that's
you're
where you
looking
test,
good.
you test if they're going to make it past the first date or not.
Yeah. If
No,
he,
I mean, all of you touched up on some really good things. Jennifer and I also have kids, so always thinking about like, what does that look like with our kids, and just finding childcare, making sure that whoever we, whether we're seeing somebody or we're in a relationship and a marriage or not, it's like always making sure you put kind of like the kids first, but at the same time building your relationship up and having that accessibility. I don't know. What do you think,
I
Jennifer?
yeah, I speaking of child care, so when I was married for quite a while, and when we did go on dates, it was my family lives here, and so it was very easy to find childcare. So it was just always like with my mom, my brothers. Um, I haven't dated much since my divorce, but I think if I would, so first and foremost, my sons come first, and I have 50. I share custody 50%. So when I'm with them 50%, I'm not going to do anything because that's my time with them. So if I date anything, then it'll be when they're not with me and they're with their dad. And then we'll see what happens later on. But I mean, I only have them
Especially in the
50% of
early
the time.
stages, you're like, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 50% of the time, but you're 100% there.
What did you say? Yeah,
Yeah.
100% there for them, exactly. But physically, 50% of the time. I like that, Tony. Yes.
So like, así con mis perritos. That's me with my puppies.
Yeah.
And both times, not even.
No, absolutely. And I think out of the three of us, Rita and Jennifer, I'm very lucky that I'm the one that's got like a preteen. So I like that if I need to slip really quick and like, hey, I need to have some me time. I have a preteen that can kind of watch his sister
Yeah.
for a few
Yeah. I think it
minutes.
gets easier as they get older in some
I'm like,
ways. Yeah.
yes. I'm like, yes. Y antes de que cumpla los 40. I like it just gets better after this. But
No.
no. I think, there's just, to me, when we think of, I think it's easy to start thinking about all the perils and all the bad stuff and all the horror stories because there are a lot, and we will get into those in just a minute. But there is some good things. There's tons of good. I think that, whether you are in a marriage, in a committed relationship, or just single, there's options. There's whether it's, I love that Tony said something about like, it's not just about meeting people online. It's just finding places to go out. What is a good place, like a if you will, what's buzzing out there that I can go and put myself in that situation.
Have a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, yo me voy con mi novio, con mi marido, con mi esposa, querida, querido. I can't, no judgment. And just put yourself in that environment and just enjoy it and enjoy that time. So,
Mhm.
I think this is kind of like a good segue since I think we're kind of like starting to talk about some of the bad things. I know Rita mentioned some of that stuff, good things that could potentially be bad. What are some of the bad things that y'all think about whenever you think of modern dating? Not the ugly, just bad.
I mean, since we were talking about, apps and social media, and one of the bad things I think would be is filter. I mean, even like on Instagram, when you see people and you're like, wait a
It's
minute, that person
annoying.
doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
And I just feel
That-
what?
wait, are you talking about my
I know,
profile?
he's like,
I
oh my
mean,
God.
I see Tony on Instagram, like, he does not look like that. And then I see him in person, I'm like, bro, come
That
on.
was
You
a
gotta take off
filter.
all those filters. And I can't imagine
Wow.
like trying to find somebody or dating somebody online, and you're like, oh, let's just stick online or something. And then they're like beautiful. And you see them in person, like, whoa, a la
Yeah.
madre.
Your teeth were not as white on that filter. Yeah.
Well, if you
Yeah.
think about it, like, dating and putting yourself out there in dating sites is now kind of like a job interview, if you will, porque nadie va a poner su worst picture. It's like you're going to put the best side of you.
Right. And
No,
that's,
that's
yeah.
That's even for like, I don't even want to jump into this, but you're right. Like, like for work, like people will send resumes and they put their picture, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I meet them like, whoa, like
I
you took
mean,
this picture.
yeah.
And your
Even
picture, you
there,
had a bun and you
You're
look
like,
sweet.
you do not look like you could work with us.
yeah. Yeah.
You'll
You're better off
scare,
not putting the picture. Just don't put the
you'll
picture for a
scare
work
our little
resume.
clients. Yeah,
Wow.
that
But that could be a bad thing because what if you put a picture out there? Some people, maybe they're scared. I even got trying to be nice. I'm like,
I-
they're scared and they're like,
what-
okay, I'm going to get rejected right away. So they're like, let me put the nicer picture of me,
just natural beauty. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Tony, I'm talking to Tony. I'm talking to Tony. Keep it real.
No, I feel like it's also like gone to another level now with the AI. Like, like it's like if filters were already a thing. And I think like everyone's like guilty of using them, it's like, but now it's like with AI, it's like a whole nother level. Cause it's like now it totally like you can be in a different place, you can wear different clothes, you can have a different background. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm very worldly. I travel everywhere. And like, you look at their pictures and it's like, oh yeah, they were here. But it's like, no. So I think like that builds a whole story. And like I saw a TikTok video of this girl that was making her own little like thing that she met this guy. She was traveling somewhere and he had like an AI picture and she met him in person and she was like, yeah, dude, like you look nothing like your picture. Like, and like got him to like confess and like come on her like TikTok talking about how he used AI for his picture. And they actually like hit it off. But she's like, I still would have liked you, she's like, like, but he used the AI picture or whatever. And so I feel like that's like a whole nother level now, of how it was before. So for
Mhm.
sure, it's
I know,
like,
but it's funny that you say that. She goes like, I still would have liked you, but would she? I mean, I feel like what made her like him is because she actually got to meet him, and then it's like,
exactly.
it off.
Yeah.
But when you are, when you're just looking at pictures and a bunch of profiles, it's kind of like you just kind of go with, I don't know. I mean, what's the at first glance like? I don't know,
Yeah.
Tony. Do
Like
you
you
ever
might not give
have to
another
take their
person a
bios and
chance.
stuff like, or
What was
whenever you're looking, like when you're on the sites, do you look at, oh, okay, este me llama la atención, me llama la pupila, it's a little enticing. And then you kind of read their bio and that gives you an idea.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's some apps that are just like swipe left, swipe right based on the pictures, and depending on how I'm feeling that night too. 'Cause you just want to play a game. It's literally just become that, a game, like another app on your phone that you're like over here playing. What is it called? The Candy Crush
Wordle
or
or something. Yeah.
okay, Grinder, Trender, Grind, Tetris, all this stuff. Like that's a bad thing about it because my attention span is like so easily, distracted too. And technology, todo eso, like people are trying to text you, and like when you do get people that are interested in you, and they're like, just they're giving you their time and they're texting you, but you're not paying attention because you're on their phone playing a game or something, or you're on do not disturb. Like me, I'm always on do not disturb. Don't bother. Don't call me. just phone. Send me text messages, all these things. But those are like modern dating. That's what it becomes. It's just like a waiting game. Like if you're, como dice, el que quiere, what is it called? El que quiere puede or
Ajá,
something
es que
like that.
quiere,
If you
yeah.
want it, you can.
Oh, like, if el que,
O el
el
que
que quiere
quiere,
va a ser el
quiere, like, sí lo va a hacer, ¿verdad? Si quiere hacer algo, lo va a
If
hacer,
you
yeah.
want it, you want it kind of thing.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, that's really hard to do now with so much of the stuff because everybody's like resorted to that, or a lot of people are resorting to like the phone, your online stuff, and sometimes that's a distraction in itself where you're not easily available. So as soon as you put yourself in a position that you're
You're
not
forced to
interested, or
or something, yeah.
you don't seem interested, they will lie like this, like then they will lie, and you're just like, okay, next, something like that. I know that's the little thing. That stuff, meeting people that don't look like each other, that don't look like their pictures. But I will say that has not happened to me. Like out of 8 out of 10 times, they look like their picture,
Yeah.
or even better.
You're like, toco madera.
Yeah.
Roll left by it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it is just better to meet them in person. Like, I feel like if you're like, oh, they're like decent, like meet them in person, like, and like funny story, like I think like, we all, like all of us met our couples online, like we all met online and had like a whole like relationship discourse, before meeting. Cause I know for my husband and I, like we were long distance for a long time and we would FaceTime, but even FaceTiming, it's real, whatever, like you're talking, but even just like the first time we like met in person, it's like a whole different feeling too, and it's like a whole different, like, you have to get past that. And it's like we would, if we started with texting, then we started with calling on the phone, then it was FaceTime, and then we finally like built up to like, all right, let's meet up. And so like, I think it's different because like, yeah, when you, like you said, like when you actually meet, there's no distractions. Like, you're forced into a situation where you're going to give that person, unless you're being an a-hole, like, watching the TV behind them on a date. But like most of the time, like you're going to try not to be on your phone because, you're not like doing other things. You're forced to like have a real conversation. And I feel like that might be something that's lacking in modern dating now is like having just a real conversation with people,
The human touch.
the human element. Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Rita, you mentioned like you started texting, like you guys were texting for a while, like that communication, that's like that's plays a big role and that can go bad and can go south quick. Like
Yeah.
what is that? Because of punctuation or what is that thing? Like be careful where
Comma.
you put your
Yeah. Yeah.
be careful where you what is it like? Don't feed a grandma or I don't even know what's that
Comma.
punctuation thing. Comma changes
Yeah.
the meaning of everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, if
Or
you what is it?
kids. It says like don't eat
Oh,
kids or something like that.
don't eat.
But it's don't eat, comma, kids, like kids don't eat. But if you just give it out the cat,
Yeah.
it's not that.
Yeah, I mean, a
Good example.
simple
I
comma,
remember.
you miss the comma and it changes the whole meaning of the
Oh
sentence.
yeah.
And
Or
so when
sometimes
you're
you just read
texting, like,
into it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because there's no body language, there's no facial expression. So now it's like
Intonation.
there's nothing. I feel like if you are
What are
texting
you
someone, you have to
talking
put a
about,
smiley
Jennifer?
face at the end, or
I
you
was
have to
about to
put a
say this new generation is all about the emojis. There
yes.
is that.
I mean
They're
that
like,
that,
here's my release.
that you can. I mean,
Eggplant.
yes.
I,
You have to communicate very well because it can go south so quick.
yeah.
So just jumping in on that because communication, I feel like I'm the one that has like the most experience of modern dating because all of y'all have been in
Yeah.
relationships.
We've been out of it.
Excuse me. Yo una vez estuve en Yahoo Personals.
Okay, Tony, you want to talk about me being old? This was on Yahoo Personals.
She's all, we met in a gaming chat room.
And at AOL.
Says, me and my husband, it makes me think of Bridesmaids whenever she's like, this is my husband. You don't have a husband.
Why are you throwing that in my face? Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
She like, stop
Anyway,
reminding me. Yeah.
but the whole texting thing, like I'm a big grammar person. I'm a great grammar nerd. And like, I'm an educated, person. I have my degrees, plenty of degrees. But como quiera, like I
We are
do
all
text messages.
educated. We just don't know how to write.
Yeah.
I do, and I know how to text, but I like I don't know, like it's a turn off when people don't know how to text. And it's just like little grammar stuff like that. Like it really just depends too. And then y'all said about like texting and meeting in person and things like that. And I'm just like, I'm not as old. Like I've evolved in my dating experience. Like before, I was all about like I need to know what you're doing, like every hour, or like I would like to a little message from you here now and then, like hey, how's your day? Oh, ese pedo, como se dice. But I'm like now, it's like if you do keep doing that to me, I find that very
Like
fastidioso. Like I'm like,
They're
clingy.
clingy.
Yeah.
Clingy.
Mm.
what's going? So I feel like as I get either I'm getting older, but
You're like, that cannot be possible.
only I can't sit on the phone and talk to somebody on the phone for an hour or
Yeah.
two. Just like, how was your day? Like somebody that you're interested in. Like I'm like, I really just go hang out with you in person.
Right.
Why am I going to talk? Oh, but I think maybe that might be like an
It's
age
like a
thing. But I don't
stage,
see
or
young.
it's like a stage in your life, right? Or maybe before, like it was a stage in our life where we did have that time and we were invested in like, let's be on the phone for an hour. Like, what are you doing? You know? But it's like now it's like, oh no, like I have to go here, I have to do this, get this done. And it's like
Well,
you
I
don't
think,
have this.
yeah, I think that's important to state. I mean, what does dating look like at different ages? If we're
That's
talking about a
major.
20-year-old right now, for them, the world is their oyster. They're gonna probably want, like, yeah, oh my God, estoy todavía ilusionada. I have all this hope and dreams. I haven't been through my
Right.
first divorce yet. First, vienen dos más. No, I'm kidding. Pero what I'm saying is, it just depends. For us who have either, been in serious relationships or married or continue to be married or have kids or whatever it may be, and we're also, in our 40s or like about to be 40 or whatever it may be, except for Rita, will always be 30 in my eyes. But our views are different. We have different priorities, different needs. It's kind of like you mentioned, Tony. It's like, I know no seas empalagoso. Like I do have needs, but my needs look different, and you fulfill me better this way. It kind of touches on last episode about what is our love language and stuff like that.
And like also I think your
Every ball.
personal growth, right? Because I think like before, like Tony said, like he maybe needed that message every now and then. But it's like now he's also grown in himself probably. And you feel like, oh yeah, I don't need that validation all day of like somebody to reassure me. Like I'm confident in who I am, and what I need.
Yeah.
And so it's like your own personal growth. I think that changes your aspect on dating, even in a marriage, because like maybe I was like that too. Like, being in your early stages of marriage, you're like, but you didn't tell me anything nice today, or you didn't, and it's like you go on and you're like, you can talk all day, but
No
you're
me
still
diste
good.
besito antes del
Yeah, no,
este.
there's un beso. I mean, I still say that, but I'm like, you didn't even give me a kiss when you left, but yeah.
Tony,
Nah,
you're like, adios, bye.
it's all about expectations too. You got to
Yeah.
make sure that they know your expectation, or that
Right.
I mean,
Oh, he knows.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Like Tony
Yeah.
said, like we can start off texting or whatever, but after that, I mean, it's all expectations. Like, what do you expect from me? What I expect from you?
Right.
That
Yeah. And that was something that ended like it's so funny because it's only happened a few years back where I was talking to like I was dating this guy and what's it called? We hung out in person y todo eso, and then we hung out like he came over here. He was from San Antonio. He came over here to Austin. I spent the night. He does it like the weekend, just a little like weekend date or whatever. And then I noticed there was a pattern in the texting that changed. I was like, who am I? One ass man over here, like analyzing the texting pattern. He wasn't texting that much. Like for me, like his messages were a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
I see, like
Yeah.
I called out on it. And then me being the analytical person, like I had to write it down because I can't speak eloquently whenever I want to get my point across. So I like put it in my like little notes on my phone. I'm like, I'm gonna read this. It needs to know how I'm doing right now. Now that I'm like clear minded. Cause like when you start talking to them, you get all like tongue tied. Like you're like, oh well,
Or they distract you.
like
Yeah.
Well, because you have all those feelings.
Mhm.
come across like you don't want to come across as super needy, but you also don't want to come across as somebody who's like completely heartless. Like you want to come across like you're still interested in them. Like what's wrong?
right.
Like if you were just asking something so simple like that, like it would be it would be easy. But when you're in your feelings, things change.
Yeah.
And it,
Also,
I remember
hydrate.
I said I messaged. I was like, "Well, I just want to talk like your texting hasn't changed. Y como que ya no me hablas así. Like little things like that." And then
Crazy. crazy. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Flags.
Boom, boom, boom. Red flags. Red flags.
For real, I was like a walking red flag. I was like, I would
Oh,
not say
Oh,
but
this before, but this is like before I found out that I had like suffered from anxiety, that I suffered from depression, like, and I started looking more into
right.
myself and started focusing on myself. And now I'm like, I don't need all of that, which is kind of like, okay, cool. Like now I don't need text messages. I don't need all of this crazy stuff. Like,
I
But
love that
I
you
think
said that. Oh, I'm sorry.
no.
Go
Go
for it,
ahead.
Jennifer.
I was just gonna
Oh,
say.
I
I
was gonna
think.
say,
Ready?
oh,
I'm lost.
ready to go.
Ready and go.
we both just got totally, emocionadas with your comments.
Yes.
That's what we have so much to
You
say.
triggered
what I
us.
was
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what I'm going to say really quick is I love that you touched on the topic of like, you realize, hey, I have this, this, and this, and that, and I have to work on myself first. I think for me, one of the bad things about modern dating is a lot of times the baggage that people bring into it and how that plays out in modern worlds. Go for it, Jennifer. Sorry.
No, I agree. Yes, you have to make sure that you really know yourself really well.
Yeah.
And, and nowadays you have to know yourself first before you jump into something else or date into something else. But Tony, you mentioned like it goes back to you know what you want. So kudos to you because you like wrote this down and said this is what I want and this is and you're not crazy. I was just messing with you. But you do put clear expectations like, hey, what's going on? What is this? Why is this happening? And you're old, dude. So you don't have time to waste. You don't have time
Yes.
to waste.
Wait, dice tu chino, señora, ya eres señora.
Señora, you're an old lady. I mean,
Señorita.
you don't have time to waste, and you want to say like, hey, this is it. This is what I'm expecting. Like your text messages have slowed down. Like, are we doing this or not? Kind of thing. I mean, yeah, that's good.
yeah, I'm very big on that too. And I always put that out for. I'm like, I'm very no nonsense type of
Mhm.
person. Like now, like, I tell people that, like the guys that I talk to, I'm like, very no nonsense. Like,
I'm not
if
gonna
you
read
want
in
to,
between
yeah,
the lines. Just
Yeah,
tell me
like
how
don't
it
beat
is.
around the bush. Yeah, like be
Right.
straightforward. Tell me what you want, I'll tell you what I want.
yeah, I'm not gonna chase anybody, like, that type of thing. If you want to come, yeah, that's fine. If not, peace out.
You're like, the only
good luck.
man I chase is the elotero, and that's it.
El elotero. Or el de las
That is
paletas when
it.
it's really hot.
The ice cream man. That's the only one. The ice cream man and
Ice cream,
Otero
no,
or
man.
no, my kid.
like-
I have to chase the ice cream man because they're like, run, mom, run, chase the
The
ice cream man. I'm
paleta.
like,
Take him to
I
the
gotcha.
I'm like, I'm from the valley, as some listeners pointed out before with my in my in the previous podcast. I'm from the valley. So yes, there's ice cream man, el de la nieve, but if you're from South Texas, you know que es el paletero no tiene nada contra el elotero, el de los nachos. Esa es la band that you're chasing down.
What do we call the person? They don't call it. We don't call it raspas. What do we call it?
What do
Uh,
You know it.
Yuki's? No, I don't know.
Chambeada? I'm like,
boli.
Bollies.
I heard. Oh, Yukis.
Yukis,
Like
yeah.
people.
Yuki.
Eagle Pass. You
That-
call it Yuki's. That's right.
Yuki.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eso es algo del aguilón, Rita. It's not
Yes.
me and you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like,
No, you
yo
have
yo
to
toda, yo
get
toda paisa. I'm like, oh, el bolis.
No.
You know, the
Eagle
bolis are
Pass
like-
is not South like when you say South Texas, everybody thinks of Harlingen and Rio Grande and McAllen and Brownsville. Eagle Pass is another little top tier. I'm just kidding. No, it's not.
I don't know.
But it's
Lo que
different. It's
conozco de ahí no me ha sorprendido.
Eagle, not the valley. Eagle Pass is not the valley. So it's not the valley.
No, nobody ever said that. Nobody said. I mean, the valley is the valley, and you know if you're from the valley or not. Eagle Pass is it's el aguilón. They're their own people, their own crew.
That's it.
I mean, I'm
where
from
Tony
where
and-
Selena
Tony and I
was
are from.
I don't know about
I'm
y'all, but I'm
Rita's
from
de
Corpus
Corpus,
Christi, where
Corpitos.
Selena was from. So
That's from where Yolanda's from.
we don't speak Yolanda and Corpus, okay? We shut her down.
Yeah. They didn't even bother to watch her show. Okay, that's how like legit straight up they follow Selena. They're like, no,
Oh
we don't want
yeah.
any of that, Yolanda.
Heck no. Yeah, we're not gonna give her any views. No, man.
I think all of you kind of touched on it a little bit, but for me, one of the bad things of modern dating is, I think Rita, you mentioned how it misses the human element, the touch. I kind of miss having to put yourself out there, you know,
Taking a risk.
and
Yeah.
taking a risk and, you know, locking eyes with the person across the bar or the club or whatever, wherever it was that you were at,
The
because you
salon.
get
The
that
salon.
I mean, there's cues in human interaction and personal interaction that you don't necessarily pick up unless they're amazing at grammar like Tony is on text. But you know, you're not going to see that on an app. To me, it's also like I feel like not everyone, because there's some amazing guys and girls out there that still do a great job about being romantic and putting in effort. But it's kind of like you had to work extra hard, you know, before to make sure you got that number at the end of the night, and you had to really turn on that
Put in the
charm
work.
aura.
Yeah.
Yes, like the aura, it's kind of like, no gracias, fine. Me gustó I just had like 3 new people that got matched with me. Bye, a la chingada.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you mentioned about gamifying things. It's like, well, why am I going to spend all this time on you right now cuando ya me salieron acá más matches? Bye,
Yeah.
adios, thank you, next.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So I
true.
think that also kind of leads us into, I mean, the territory of ugly, not
Mhm.
just bad, but the straight up ugly.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, things can, like, I mean, I said things can go very wrong quickly, because of just miscommunication. And you know, I just feel communication is the key. And if you don't communicate, it can go, and as much as you're interested in this person, it can go south so quick. So you
Yeah.
do have to, and as scary as it sounds, like, hey, this is what I want, and this and this and this. I mean, you do have to say that, because then it just, yeah, you can
Yeah. Like be
misread
clear
things.
about your
Being
expectations.
very
Yeah.
clear. And I think we're in the job that we are all at, we're pretty much almost in the same field. And so communication is key. I mean, I know I have to be very clear with my communication to the people that I work with. And at first, when I first started, I was like, oh no, we got this. They got this. But as I learned through it, I'm like, oh, I have to be
Yeah.
very
You
clear.
can't assume that people
I can't
understand what you
assume.
mean. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And the
same with
same for me.
relationships. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The same for me too. I can't assume that the people that I work with are in this. Like, I need them to communicate very well with me. So I think it could go very bad.
Well, to me, like,
But
what does bad look like? You know, whenever we're talking about these, like modern dating and stuff like that, what does bad look like? To me, bad, aside from, oh, hey, the good old bait and switch, te ponen la AI picture y el que llega looks nothing like that person, you know? To me, it's like, I feel that going back to empowering and emboldening people, you know, like that could be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing, because I think some people have lost that filter, and not like filters for the camera, but filter like they feel a little bit more likely to say things to you that they would not say in person. Like you have guys straight up trying to send you pics of their junk, or like get into that kind of territory, you know, like, and it's kind of
where's
like,
Wait,
yeah, I mean,
Tony has
Tony,
Tony,
like where?
Yeah.
And this
Tony's ready to
sounds
talk.
like Tony's
Tony,
experience.
Tony, take it away. He's like,
what? Some pictures? I'm in. No.
Depende,
Uh,
¿cómo se ve?
oh man.
but really, that's it though. That's part of the ugly part of it. That depending on where you go, like
Yeah.
people don't have any. They have filters on their pictures, but they don't have filter on their
Yeah.
text or whatever.
Correct.
Just a picture that was like, who's this? Like, uh,
Ah, Benito.
I don't think. No, but it's very. That's part of the ugly part is. But for me, like in my community, like there's a lot of gay people in the world, y'all. Like there's a lot of us. However, the community and like everybody knows each other. Like somebody who doesn't know, like that. Like it's like a small town. Like growing up in a small town, which I think most of us did, right? Like most of us consider
Yeah.
a small
Yes.
city or town. But everybody knows each other some way,
Yeah.
somehow. Like
Yeah.
it's here, like the communities are huge, but with us, it's part of the ugly thing is it's like if you're gonna be interested in somebody or if you match with somebody, chances are they've hooked up with somebody you knew or So like you come to the point where I'm just like, okay, so I just stop altogether and like not meet up with anybody anymore or like venture out to a
Extend your
different
miles.
country.
Yeah.
It's different
Your
country.
mile radius. Yeah.
Friend.
Literally, like, where do I literally not know? But And it's like, I'm not out there, like, I don't know anybody, but it just turns out like I met this person when I was an undergrad at UT in Austin. Like it's a little connections like that you're just like really like, but again, it's like the field that we're in, we're educated, like, y'all educated gay people tend to like hang out with each other. So most of the time, so you run in the same
Yeah.
circles. So it's like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It really, it's interesting in that sense. And then something ugly else is like how easy you can end something, right? Or how some
Oh,
like
totally.
now
Yeah. Behind the
with like
screen, like people are just like
Yes.
told to be
They're
like, all right,
emboldened. Yeah.
ghost you.
and go.
Yeah.
Ghosting is such a terrible thing, and I'm guilty of doing it. Like some of us are, but it's like when you just cut off connection with somebody like that. I'm not. Like, I'm really bad at doing that. Yeah, because again, the fear of communicating that Jennifer like is talking about, like communication, communication, communication. Like instead of me, I'm better at it now. Before it was like I didn't want to tell you, like, you know what, I'm not interested in you. It could have
Mhm.
been super easy, like,
Mhm.
but instead of saying that, you would just be like, all right, delete, block. Yeah, never.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And it
you
goes
think about
back
it,
Those
to
are
so
like, yeah.
before I got married, you dated or whatever and whatnot, and guys would stop talking to you, and you're like, whatever. And now I think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, ghosting. Why would somebody do that? And then I
Yeah.
think, I'm like, wait, that happened. That happened to us
Señora.
before.
Señora.
Yes, like,
You didn't
señora,
know what it
no.
was called when you get
I didn't know
ghosted.
what it
Yeah.
was called. Can you
Yeah.
imagine, ghosting back like 15 years ago? I mean, like, oh, they ghosted me. No, but they was like, they stopped talking to me.
Because back then,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what we used to say.
Do what?
I mean, back then, what was ghosting?
Yeah.
You
Que te
know,
tiraron
Te
on,
tiraron al
right? Is
león.
that
They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
tiraron al león. It's
threw you
like,
through the line, through the lion's den. Like, just whatever.
it's like ghosting back then, como quiera los mirabas. Like you'd walk past them or like, sí me dejaste de hablar, you stopped talking to me. Okay, whatever. Nowadays, it's like literally they stop existing because you may have never interacted with them in person. And it kind of like stings a little like, gotcha.
Or now
Well,
they block you. Like you
they
can get
block
blocked
you,
from
or I
everywhere.
mean, like all
Block
these
your
things and then
number,
ghosting.
block
I'm
your
like,
social
wow.
media. Like, yeah. Yeah. And especially if it's online where you don't see anybody, it's like that does, it does happen. But so here's a funny story, which is gonna expose my crazy, but this is okay. So like, again, like going back to like, Matt and I, like we met online or whatever, right? So we were long distance for a while. And we would still talk or whatever, and we kind of made plans of like we're gonna move and like kind of meet in a central location, whatever. This was when I was still in Corpus. We are gonna meet up in Austin or whatever, right? And all of a sudden, like we had been dating like maybe like I don't know, it had been like maybe close to a year, like somewhere around there. But I get a message, and he's like, "Hey, like yeah, it's not gonna work out," and I'm like, "What the fuck? Like we just made all these plans. Like what does that mean? Like." And to me, like that human element is so important. Like I'm like, oh no, like we just invested all this time, like we would like, fly out to see each other, like, not just like time, but money, like everything, and it's like, and we were like at a
No me
serious
vas a
point,
dejar.
right? We were at a serious point. And I was like, oh no, like you need to tell me to my face, like I'm not gonna freaking take a text message, like you need to tell me to my face. And like I don't know how I was crazy enough to do it, but I freaking flew over to Arizona. Didn't tell him I
What?
was coming. I didn't tell him.
Red flag.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't tell him I was coming, right? I
Yeah,
just went and I showed
Wow.
up because I was like, and I went and I told him like I, showed up with my little suitcase. I didn't get to knock on his door because actually he was pulling into his apartment when I was like getting dropped off by the taxi because there was no Uber or Lyft, took a freaking taxi. So I get there and he's like, well, what are you doing here? And like my phone had been turned off and like he says he had been trying to call me or whatever, but I was flying over, my phone was off and and I was like, no, I was like, you just need to tell me to my face, like, if you don't want this, like, because I wanted that. I wanted the human interaction. I wanted to see the look in his face. I wanted to
Yeah.
confront him and be like, look, like, you're going to break up with me over a text message, like, tell me to my face and break up with me in person and I'll walk away. And I was ready. Like, I had a hotel booked. Like, I had a plan in place for like what was going to happen if like it didn't turn out like the fairy tale ending, whatever, but I knew that that was a big possibility or that was what could happen. But I was like, I want you to tell me to my face, and he's like, well, guess I'm packing my shit, because he's like, I'm moving to Texas. Because, like it was like, he's like, that was our story. And like, it's like from there, like, I think like, we would have maybe worked it out, like, had I not flown over there. but also like I was like I needed that like confrontation, I guess you can say, of like tell me like because I was just like I'm not gonna like just take it over a text message, like no,
Wow.
so
Rita, you have all the crazies right now. Like
well.
Rita has all the crazies right now, like booking flights and everything. Like, I'm
yeah.
going to the
Oh
person
yeah,
that
this is
ghosted me.
my sign. Yeah. Yeah.
This is my sign.
Spirit Airlines is lighting up.
Yeah.
Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
Spirit
Spirit
Airlines.
Airlines.
No,
It was
hombre, la perdí
Southwest.
Southwest,
Yeah.
honey.
Yeah.
You got the guys that have ghosted someone. They're like locking their doors, turning off their lights. It's like,
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, okay, so this is why I like online dating, because I want to avoid the Ritas that are going to
I
come
know, right?
show up in my
Yeah.
front door.
Dude, yeah. Matt still says
wow.
he's like, that's a freaking dating a Latina. And I'm like, that's what you get, It's like
Whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
crazy
whoa,
comes
whoa.
out. The crazy
Not all
comes out.
Latinas
Not
show up at your front door
not all
fucking
Latinas
crazy
show
and
up at
pay
your
for it.
front door.
And like,
No.
But the crazy
they might,
years later.
What did you say?
Unas mandan al papá.
Oh,
Yeah.
some send their fathers. That's what you said.
Oh, shit. Their brothers with the rifles. Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. Wow, that's an interesting story. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
and I'm glad, like we said, we're glad it all ended up well. 2 beautiful kids, still going strong.
Happily married. Look at you.
Because he's like, si la dejo, me va a ir a buscar a la casa nueva.
I'm never
If I
escaping.
leave her, she will come to my new fucking place and
Oh,
find me
yeah.
again.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, and like it comes with like, like Tony talked about like, growing and like, like yes, at some point I think we all are a walking red flag, because it's like we grow over time, And I mean, I think I would still do that. So I haven't grown that much, but but what
Con
I'm
los
saying is
niños.
like I'm showing up with your kids. No, mostly, but yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, but it's like, I think over time, you have to still learn to communicate and still like those things that we talked about that you want in a relationship, like even in a marriage, like you have to be willing to grow and still be like, hey, like this is what I want, this is what I need, because you're gonna change, like time changes, and you have to change and grow, be willing to grow together. So like those are still essentially like, it's like you hear that you have to always date when you're married. Like it sounds corny, but it's like it's true because you have to still get to know your partner because you are gonna grow. I'm not the same person I was, when I was 21 and we met, because it's like, there we have different needs, where like our stress levels are different, like the things that we want are different. So like having that time to still connect with your partner and still communicate all those things that you would as if you were dating is important in order for you to grow in the right direction, So
I don't know if it's so much in the right direction, but to me, it's like you grow and you can either choose to grow together or you grow apart. Because to me, it's more about like when you're married for a long time, and you have children and all that stuff, your identity changes into I'm a mom, I'm a father, then everything is revolves around the kids.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like, inevitably what happens is it's not until the kids leave the nest, traditionally this is what happens, that they leave, they go off to college. Then you sit there and go, a la madre, ¿tú quién eres? Who are you? You're not the same person I married.
Yeah.
And then it's like having to get to know each other again. But by dating each other through your marriage and still having that date night whenever you can. And granted, we get it. It's hard. You have responsibilities. Hay trabajo, hay huercos, maybe there's no babysitter. But you have to keep that flame alive somehow because that you don't want to end up 15, 18 years later and then go like, I don't know you. And I grew up into this other person, y tú por allá, and we're not even
you're disconnected.
meshing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is true.
I'm glad you talked about that, Rita. That was a nice way to soften up the whole.
I flew, yeah. my reasoning, yeah. Oh yeah, wow, yeah.
It's like, well, I guess what we did with dating or what we do with dating is stuff that we grew up seeing, right? Like it's like just how you were raised. The people around you, like what they were doing while they were dating, like what your brothers and sisters were doing while they were dating, how they talked to whoever they were dating. Like you start doing those same things because that's all you know. And then you're like, you go through this like realization, like, whoa, that's not right. That really messed up that they did that. Like I probably will not talk to like a person like that.
Yeah.
or you go, I do not want to do what I grew up seeing
Mm-hmm.
because I had
Oh,
5 brothers and tell me about it. I was not going to follow that pattern. Now their dating pattern.
I'm the youngest of 7, so it's like I saw, and I'm really far apart from my siblings. So like I
That's right.
literally saw them get married, saw them get divorced, and some of them are still together, but they hate each other. Like all of it's
All the
just
different
it's a whole mess.
scenarios. Yeah.
Like a bunch of like what is it called? Proof of how not to do
What
things
not to do.
or
Yeah.
to do in marriages and life and whatever. But it's like when that's all you know, I guess that's all you do.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it was easier back then to say, Rita talked about it, touched on it briefly earlier about, your parents. I know, ya estás con este, no lo puedes dejar. But it's kind of like you get kind of like stuck in this relationship, whether it's dating, marriage, whatever it may be. And then it's like you kind of then go, if you don't invest that time that, all of us, especially Rita, as investing into dating your spouse and stuff like that, you kind of go like, you end up with a roommate, essentially.
Right.
Then it's like, then you going back to what Tony just said, like they're together, pero se odian, or they hate each other. It's maybe they don't hate each other, but they're just kind of living, coexisting.
Right.
And then it's like, is that the life that you want, to just be with
Mhm.
someone and share space? That's it.
Yeah.
To what Tony said earlier about, having the siblings and learning from that, like it's a double-edged sword because I didn't witness my brother. I have 4 brothers, and I'm the only girl. I didn't witness my brothers dating, but I would want to treat someone the way I would want my brothers to be treated. So
Yeah.
it's like that's
Mm.
how like my experience would be, my learning experience would be.
Right. Yeah.
That's sweet. That's kind. It's kind of like, the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. But you're always thinking of your brothers because it's like, this is somebody's brother out there
Right.
that I'm.
Somebody's
Yeah.
brother, somebody's son, somebody's,
Yeah.
and so
Even with your own kids now, like you're like, oh, like, I wouldn't want somebody that's, an a-hole or, whatever to treat my son a certain way or treat my daughter a certain way, because it's like, so you're going to try to like, when you're dating, pay that same respect out right into the world, essentially.
It changed a lot for me because you have a different perspective, Jennifer. Because you're the only girl with 4 men in your family. I'm the youngest. I'm the 6th boy. I only have 1 sister also, but I'm the youngest and I'm the only gay one. So it's like I didn't have anybody that I can be like, oh, I can't say, oh, I'm gonna treat the way my sister treated her husband. Like, no, I would never do that.
Right.
Or like I would want to treat my significant other the way my my brothers are jerks,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that don't lean and all this stuff. So I'm like, no, like, so who do I like?
You have
Kind of
to
like
build your
I have to
own.
build.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I went through like my whole all of my 20s and 30s, just kind of like, what do I do? What do I like? What do I don't like? And then
But
I feel like I'm.
Rita, you had said something
But
like, because we have children. So because, we're Latina women, the 3 of us, maybe 4. So we, we grew up so growing up, you didn't have a good, what should I say? So growing
Example
up,
or
examples. Thank you. Yes,
Mhm.
you didn't have good examples like of your parents, of your father, how he should treat her mother, and your mother, how she should treat her.
Well,
Your
we're
other,
assuming,
I'm sorry.
there might be some listeners out there that maybe did have a
Right,
good mom.
right. So I mean, we're just some of
you're
us, but the majority.
You're the exception,
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. So, but you want to break that cycle, like all of
Oh,
us.
yeah.
I mean, if us 3, if we grew up not, coming from a broken household or whatever it
Right.
is, or where you
Yeah.
saw, your parents disrespect each other, you want to break that cycle, and you want to make sure that you treat your husband or the way who you're dating, want to treat them with respect, so your children can see that, and then when they
Right.
start
Yeah.
dating, they have
Yeah.
good examples.
Because you don't want them to think that that's the norm, like, oh, that's how a marriage is, and or that's how a relationship is, not necessarily even a marriage, like a relationship, like them witnessing
Right.
that, it's like,
Right.
because yeah, like Tony was saying, like, like he sees and has all these
Mhm.
examples of like what not to do or what he doesn't want to do. And it's the same, like, You know, I think like growing up in a broken home or growing up in a in a home where you don't have a healthy relationship to admire, you do have to go out and identify for yourself, like, what is it that I need and what is it that I want and expect from
Mhm.
people, you know? So that is, yeah, it's pretty deep
But
stuff.
Some
going
people,
yeah,
some
going on
people don't even,
so go for it, Tony.
sorry,
No, you're good.
I'll just say some people don't even know that they grew up like in
They
a
don't
home like that,
realize
like in a
it.
broken.
Yeah.
Right.
I was about to say, going to Jennifer and you just touched on Tony. For me, it's like, yes, you want to break those cycles, but let's be honest, a lot of times that is so ingrained in you that you don't even realize that you're continuing the pattern
Right.
until it gets pointed out to you. And I hate to say this, but sometimes it does take, getting somebody to help you work through it,
Oh
whether it's a
yeah.
therapist, spiritual leader, whatever it is, it's your thing. Um, but you don't realize it until it's like, oh shit, one day you kind of wake up and I'm like, I sound just like my mom, or I sound like my mom and my dad, and it's like,
Yeah,
and then
pero
you
te
look at
quiero,
your
mamá.
like, I'm like, no, I'm not saying that as
Shout
in
out
a
to our
bad way.
moms. Shout out
Yeah.
to our
Yeah.
moms and dads.
Mom, don't watch this episode. It's like, no sabes hasta que ya estás in the middle of it. You don't know it.
Right.
But to me, I think the other one that you guys talked about was kids and like what we want for our kids and how our kids would be dating. Yes, ideally, I have a son and a daughter, so I get both ends of like the spectrum kind of thing. I would love for people to treat them a certain way and be honest with them. If nothing else, be respectful. But one of the things I teach my kids is resiliency. Because the truth is, in this world nowadays, especially as we're evolving and people don't feel like they need to invest in others as much, which is sad, they need to be resilient enough to know, si me dejó de llamar, let it go. Like, si no me busca, let it go. If they're not looking for me, they stop calling me. Reason being is, and I mean, it builds that tough skin, builds that character for them. Because I don't want them to feel like they have to chase
And then
somebody down.
older. Yeah.
Yeah. And that it's okay. It's okay. Maybe that person is not emotionally developed enough or has the tools to say, me gustaste o sabes que no me gustaste, aquí la cortamos. Their way out was ghosting you or whatever it was. But you need to be tough enough to walk away from that. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Your time will come. The next person will come.
Right.
Yeah. And that's true. And sometimes it takes like a partner pointing that out to you.
I- so easy to say that, like in theory, right? But like think about it when you were in those situations. I was like, were you really gonna let it go that easy?
No, I
Like
flew
let it
to
go.
Arizona.
Rita was not going to let it go. She flew.
I'm like, bye.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't chase. Vámonos.
So, like at least you're like some people are how to do that, and that's great. I wish I had somebody teaching me that as a kid, like fine things are gonna happen, all these things.
But like you said, I mean, all of this is in theory. I mean, my kids could grow up and be like Rita and chasing men, like,
Chasing men.
jumping on
Excuse me.
airplanes.
Excuse me. I just needed it to be pulled to my face. That was it. I was not chasing. That was like, hey,
No,
I
I'm not
wanted
saying
the
it's a
human
bad
element
thing.
because I'm like,
I'm not saying
I
it's
wasn't gonna
a
take it
bad
from the
thing.
screen.
I'm
Chasing
not
men.
saying it's a bad thing. It could have been like it could be a positive thing. She's a go-getter.
She's a determined
No.
woman.
Here's the thing.
Woman.
I'll tell you what it is that I like to confront things. I will not let things go. Like if there's an issue, I am the kind of person that like I'd rather talk about it, get it out in the open. I don't like to like beat around the
Okay.
bush.
What if
So-
you just wanted to talk about it on the phone? Like he's still talking about it.
I mean, yeah, he could have, but I
She's
guess
like, no, todavía me subo al pinche avión.
what if, like going back to like the dating on modern world and dating online. Like I didn't want that. Like I wanted that we had already seen each other in person. We had already been dating in person. So like I wanted the decency and respect of like, hey, tell me to my face, and I was gonna accept it. I wasn't gonna like go shove myself in his apartment, but it was like, just tell me. And if it wasn't gonna be a no, like okay, bye, wish you good luck.
Okay.
But it was just that human element that we mentioned that, like I was like,
But to be fair, y'all were in not just in like, él vive en su casa, yo en la mía, or like he lives in Houston, I live in Corpus. This is like he's in Arizona
Yeah.
and you're in Texas. So that's, I mean, that was a little bit harder to have that human element that you wanted at
Mhm.
that instant.
Mhm.
Right. Which is why I made
And
it
I just want
easier
to say,
for
Rita's
him.
husband, you only, I just was totally like helping you out right now.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, you were.
Take some cookies, coffee. Yeah.
Like I feel like you did it the right way. You didn't go in there without a plan.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That was the difference. Like she didn't just show up talking and you like, and
But
got
yeah, I was like, look what you're gonna miss.
Bermuda,
Yeah.
plan. You had a
right
suitcase planned.
trench coat con lingerie debajo.
If it was a yes, yeah.
Hooked and everything. So I'm like, it's not like you were just gonna be left there on the street crying in the
Right.
rain.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, this isn't a rock song. Like this
She's
was
like,
your
"Fue
life.
Rubí, no, no María Elena."
Yeah. Marichuy, yeah. Yeah.
No, I saw like that was very I don't know, that's empowering
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
was.
I would need a closure too. I would need, hey, yes or
I
no
think,
kind of thing
yeah,
we're gonna do this, but woof,
exactly. I think
driving,
that was
going to
it.
their
Okay, but
houses.
did he say yes or no, or was he just open ended over the phone?
No. Oh, whenever I showed up.
No, no, no,
No,
before. Like,
Mhm.
what triggered you to, like, be like, "I know," and get on that plane? Was it that he said, "No, we're done," and then you were like, "Oh, no, we're done, pero me lo vas a decir a la cara?" And like, to my face?
Yeah,
Or did
yeah.
he just kinda, like, ghost you a little bit, and then that's what prompted you to like,
I
"Oh,
mean,
no."
he did send me a message, like, he did, like, send me a message and say, like, "Hey, like, this." I think it was just getting really heated and complicated, and we were both being very vulnerable at that stage, and it was getting to a point where we were about to be very serious because we were gonna move, and we were making these plans, and, we both had baggage, like, we talked about that, like, we both had baggage, we had abandonment issues, whatever, it's like, so I think it was getting to the point where we were both getting to that scared place, and I think I knew him well enough at that point where, like, I know, like, he was getting maybe scared, needed reassurance. That's why I showed up. I'm kidding. But, like, but
But that's okay, but I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad I asked that question because it's not like I don't want anybody to go like, "Ay, esta nomás se fue." I like, it's like you said, you knew that he needed that reassurance. So it's like it's about knowing that person that where you're with.
yeah.
It's like okay, this move, it's either gonna be the make or break, but I know he needs that to give me a yes or a no.
And yeah, and I needed it
It's
too, like how Jen mentioned, like, it was the closure, because I knew, like, I was gonna accept it and move on and take the heartbreak or whatever at that point,
right.
but I also just needed it. Like, I wanted it to be like, hey, you know what? Like, because we invested so much time at that point and we were getting to a serious place. And, I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna just do this for myself because I know, like, I need the closure to move on. And then yeah, I mean it, worked out, but oh,
Okay.
yeah.
oh,
Oh.
well, weird.
I know. She's like, and that's that. Well, I think that we have touched on a little bit of everything for the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern dating from all four perspectives, which was awesome. Thank you. I think I love kind of to sort of kind of recap. Let me know if I'm wrong here, but if we had to give 3 tips to to the people trying to date out there, we said communication. Communication's key. Tony and Jennifer touched on that a lot. Another tip would be, probably just your expectations. Everybody brought this up. Making sure you keep, you let people know what are your wants, what are your needs at all times, going back to the communication. And then I would like to squeeze in there, be open, don't overthink it. I think that sometimes it's easy for us to get caught up, but, in what's going on, but just, enjoy it. It's fun. Enjoy it out there for a little bit. Now, if you've been doing it for a long time, you might not be like, pinche Bianca, I'm not going to enjoy it. Ando buscando. But have fun while you can. Any other tips that you guys would have or suggestions on people that are dating out there right now?
Invest in your my tip would be invest in loving yourself.
Yeah, that's
Like,
Yes.
like you like because you can't really love somebody else. Like RuPaul tells us every Friday.
He to the library.
If you think about it, like what is he saying? Like if you can't love somebody, how are you gonna love somebody else if you can't love
right.
yourself?
Mhm.
Something like that. really is true. Like, if you don't have time to like invest in like, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? Take yourself out on dates.
Mm-hmm.
Do stuff by yourself. Maybe you like to do stuff like because you've always done it with
Right.
people, like or with somebody else. Like, what if you do it by yourself? Like, how is the experience going to be? Like, oh, maybe it's a lot better. Like, I like personally, I discovered that I love going to the movies by myself because I don't like people talking while or eating while they're
Yeah.
next to me at the movie. There's some people that can't go to the movies by
Or
themselves.
anywhere
They
in
have to be
public. Yeah. Hmm.
by themselves. They can't do all of this thing, by themselves. But I do a lot of stuff for myself, and I discovered that I am very happy doing those things by myself. If somebody else would start, I'm not gonna disinvite them. And be like, no, you're not allowed to come into my bubble. But it's like, yeah, it'll enhance the
You're
experience.
sharing it with them. It's like, I think that's
Yes.
why it's so important. Like for those of us that are like, because I'll include myself in that one. We like our me time a lot. We like like our own space. When we let somebody in, that's a big deal. You're inviting them into your world and you're saying,
Yeah,
I like you this much, cabron. That, you're because I could just be
100%.
watching this movie by myself or not.
Yeah. Yeah. You're willing to hear their commentary.
Yeah. No, I
I
agree.
love
Love yourself. What did you say?
and my love language is time. Like spending time with people. Like if I am giving you my time,
Yeah.
I know so but if I'm like taking time out of my schedule, out of my like personal stuff to go hang out with you, that's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
deal. Like for me, like I'm gonna drive down there to go see you. That's a big deal. Like I'm giving you my
Yeah.
time, and then and for that to me, it really just depends. I don't know what type it's called love language because you have to be like a giver and a
Yeah. What you
receiver,
want to
right? Like
receive.
I,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Time.
Because if they're giving you the
Mhm.
time of day and they're like, giving you a space to hang out or, respond to your messages or whatever, then you feel appreciated. Like you feel seen. And yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And thank you, Tony, for joining us. It was a pleasure having you and getting all that you heard firsthand.
Audience, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's Spotify or Apple, so you'll never miss a show.
All right. Well,
Yay.
until next time, hasta la próxima. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Adios.